Howdy, my name is John, and this video is my November 2021 wrap-up. This month I finished the Landmark Julius Caesar. This month I actually read the Alexandrian War, the African War, and the Spanish War to finish up this book. I've been reading it in previous months. This was a read-along with David Wiley. This edition does a really good job providing maps and notes to the text. Because of these maps and notes, I gave it 5 stars. Not really sure what I would have given just the text, probably 3 or 4 stars. It's not really the easiest to understand what's going on just from the text alone. I actually needed the notes to kind of interpret what the text was saying. I'll definitely be checking out others in this series. The next book I finished was The Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I also listened to this on audio, and the audio was read by the author himself. This was a reread for me, and I'm pretty sure the last time that I read this was back when I was either in junior high or high school. I remember enjoying it more back then than I enjoyed this read-through. I really just kind of found this story just to be okay. Golding does have some interesting things to say about society. I'm not really sure I agree with him about what he says, but, here again, it is an interesting novel for the themes. As such, I gave it 3 stars. The next book I finished was A Merchant in Oria and Other Tales by David Wiley. David, of course, has a YouTube channel himself, and he's the one that I buddy read the Landmark Julius Caesar with. I've already done a dedicated review for this book, and I'll provide a link to David's channel, David's announcement video, and my review of the book in the description below. I gave the book 4 stars. The next book I finished was Bio of an Ogre by Piers Anthony. This is Anthony's autobiography up to about the age of 50. This book was published in 1988. I really enjoyed this. Anthony has a way of writing that even when he's writing nonfiction, the words on the page just seem to flow for me. I do want to read one section about Anthony's computer system at the time of writing. I use a DEC Rainbow with a 20 megabyte hard disk and a 512 kilobyte memory. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book I finished was The Robots of Dawn by Isaac Asimov. This is the 3rd in his Robot series. In this book, Bailey is called to a different planet than the second book, and again he's asked to solve another murder mystery, except in this case, the victim is actually a robot. I did enjoy this book. I especially enjoyed the ending, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I finished was Flint the King by Mary Kirchoff and Douglas Niles. This is a book that I'm buddy reading with a friend of mine. We read a chapter a day, and then we discuss the chapter. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Mary Kirchoff is the same one who wrote Kindermore, about Tasselhoff, and this one is about Flint Fireforge, the dwarf. I gave Kindermore 5 stars, and I gave Flint the King 5 stars. Kirchoff really just knows how to write interesting characters and interesting action scenes, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. The next book I finished was How Precious Was That Law by Piers Anthony. This is his autobiography from roughly 50 to about 60 to 65, somewhere along in there. And really, it covers earlier life as well. The biggest problem I had with this book is that the first 100 pages or so are kind of a repeat of Bio of an Ogre. And it's not as interesting to read kind of the second time around, having read Bio of an Ogre so recently. Had there been a little bit more space between the two, I would have probably enjoyed this a lot more, that section a lot more. The rest of the book, though, is very interesting. bio of an ogre was actually separated into 10-year stretches. This book is more topical, and he discusses basically his life as a writer and the different things that he has to deal with. For example, fans, talks about the fans, he talks about critics, he talks about publishers, and he just gives different stories from his life concerning those in various topics. Again, I gave this book 5 stars as well. Despite the repetitiveness of the first 100 pages, I really enjoyed the last 250 pages of the book. The next book I finished was Letters to Jenny by Piers Anthony. In February of 1989, a mother wrote to Anthony concerning her daughter, who had been hit by a drunk driver and was in a coma. And she asked Anthony to write her daughter a letter and hoped that the daughter would come out of the coma. Well, Anthony did write the letter, and Jenny did actually come out of the coma. And then once a week for the next year, Anthony wrote Jenny a letter, a practice which he's actually continued to this day. This book contains the first year of letters. It also contains a report of when Anthony and Jenny actually met in person. That section where Anthony and Jenny meet is the best part of the book. I did enjoy reading this book, but reading these letters back to back doesn't make for the best reading experience. There's some repetitiveness to it, and Anthony's attempts at humor. In a weekly letter, I could have seen this, kind of being fresh, but reading the letters back to back, that humor really kind of wears thin. So I wound up giving this 4 stars. The last book I finished was Electric City by Thomas Hager. This is a book I got from my library. It was actually released in May of 2021 this year. And I really kind of grabbed it for the title. I am an electrical engineer, so when electricity comes up, it catches my attention. This is the story of how Henry Ford, primarily, he did have some help from Thomas Edison trying to sell the project. Back right after World War I, the U.S. government started to build a dam and a couple of nitrate plants along the Tennessee River in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. After World War I was over, they didn't really need those plants anymore, so they abandoned the project. Henry Ford then bid on the dam and the plants. This book tells of Ford's efforts to get Congress to approve the deal. Ford had this vision of kind of a combined rural and urban area. He was wanting the dam to power electric generators, to power the plants, and he also had this idea that for a couple of months of the years, the workers would farm land, and then the rest of the time they would work in the factory. And so they would have this dual farm life and factory life. I found this book very fascinating, and it's written very well. I gave this book 5 stars as well. So overall, that was a really good reading month for me. Out of the 9 books that I read, I wound up giving 5 stars. I hope you had an equally successful reading month in November as well. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.